To get started with a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, just go right here to quickfile.net. And this is our home page. You'll see this button that says Get Started, only $1.99. You just click that button, and that'll take you to the sign-up page. Just type in your name, choose your state from the drop-down, and put in an email address, and then come here and click the Continue button. That'll take you to PayPal, and you can pay the $1.99 online. That's the full price that we charge for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And you don't need to have a PayPal account to sign up and pay through PayPal. All of our payments are processed through PayPal, but you can pay with a debit card or credit card without having a PayPal account. So once you make that payment, then you go up here and you click the button that says Sign In. And on the left where it says New User, you just make up a username. I'm just going to make up John Doe 33, and you enter a password. Just make one up. It has to be at least 6 digits, and just type in an email address and click Submit. That'll take you to an online questionnaire. It'll say new account created for John Doe 33 or whatever username that you use, and you'll see these little question marks throughout the questionnaire. These are little pop-up instructions for certain questions. So if you have any questions about certain things, just touch those with your mouse, and that'll give you some information, some instructions. So the first thing it's going to ask you for your court district. So you choose your court district here. It's got all the court districts from the United States. I'm going to choose Central District, California in this example. If you don't know what your court district is, you just click this link here. It'll tell you. It's going to ask you for your name here. So you just choose your name, John David Doe. I'm just making all this up while I go. So marital status, married or not married. So I'm going to put not married. If you're married and you want to, it'll ask you, do you want to file bankruptcy jointly with your spouse? And it'll tell you information about it here. You can, if you're married, you can file jointly with your wife or husband, or not. You don't have to file bankruptcy together if maybe your spouse doesn't want to file. So that's up to you and your spouse. So if you put married, it'll ask you this: do you want to file bankruptcy jointly with your spouse? If you put yes, it'll ask you for your spouse's name. So debtor 1 and debtor 2. So debtor 1 would be your name and then your spouse's name. Your spouse will be referred to as debtor 2 throughout here. So I'm going to put not married here. It'll ask you, how do you want to pay the $335 court filing fee? Every bankruptcy court in the United States charges a $335 court filing fee for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. You can pay that to the court at the time of filing, or you can apply to pay it in monthly installments. Most courts will let you pay it in 4 monthly payments, maximum. They will still file your bankruptcy now. Your bankruptcy will be effective immediately, and you just send in a payment to the court each month until you get it paid off. Just make sure you don't miss a payment, because if you do, they can dismiss your bankruptcy and you have to start all over again and pay another filing fee. So the other thing is, if your income is less than 150% of the federal poverty level for your family size, which for a single person with no dependents, that's roughly about $1,525 a month net. They go by your net take-home pay, not your gross. Your net, whatever you take home. If you're, as a single person, if your net income is not more than approximately $1,525 a month, then you're eligible to apply for a fee waiver. And if you have dependents, or if you're married, if you have other family members, then your income can go up to like maybe $2,000 or more, and it'll tell you right here on this link, if you're eligible for a fee waiver. So you just make your choice there. Have you filed bankruptcy within the last 8 years? Yes or no? If so, you put it here. Or just leave no. Maybe you filed a previous bankruptcy that was dismissed because you didn't show up at your meeting, or maybe you filed a Chapter 13 previously. You can file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy once every 8 years, if it was dismissed. If it was dismissed because if it was discharged. If it was dismissed because you didn't show up or you didn't file all your papers or something, then you can file again. But you can only get a discharge once every 8 years in a Chapter 7 case. Do you rent your residence? Yes or no? If you do, it'll ask you, has your current landlord obtained an eviction judgment against you? So if yes, then you put the landlord's information here, and you can stop an eviction before there's a judgment. If you have like a pending eviction that has not ended up in a judgment yet, if you file a bankruptcy before that, it will stop the eviction. Even if you have a eviction judgment against you, you can still stop the eviction by posting 1 month rent with the bankruptcy court. Are you a sole proprietor of any full-time business, yes or no? What kind of debts do you have? Primarily consumer or primarily business? And we'll give you detailed instructions and examples, once you sign up. This is just a general, just kind of letting you know what it's like to use our system. Have you used any other names in the last 8 years? And it's got all the information here, like a maiden name or something. If so, you put your other names here, or just leave it no. Your social security number, which the court needs, and the court is not going to make your social security number known to the public. It's not going to be in the public court records. Just the last 4 digits will be available, but the court will keep that confidential. Have you used any business names or employer ID numbers in the last 8 years? Your home address where you physically reside and your county. A lot of people put USA, but that's asking for your county, not your country. Do you have a different mailing address? So if you have a different mailing address where you want to get your mail from the bankruptcy court, you put your mailing address there. Why are you choosing this district to file for bankruptcy? Usually it's this one here. Over the last 180 days, I've lived in this district longer than in any other district. By law, you're required to file bankruptcy in the bankruptcy court district and state where you have resided for the majority of the past 6 months. So that's usually this box right here. And here it'll ask you, have you completed the required pre-bankruptcy counseling? In 2005, they changed the bankruptcy laws, and one of the requirements of that new law, it's not new anymore, but from that law at the time, 2005, is that before you actually file your bankruptcy, you have to complete pre-bankruptcy counseling. And you can do that online, and it takes about an hour. And the cheapest one I know of is $10. And if you click here, it'll give you the links to the counseling websites. If you're in Alabama or North Carolina, they have usually different counseling websites. But if you're in any other state, you can go to moneysharp.org. That's the cheapest one that I'm aware of. That's $10. And that $10 fee applies to if you're filing jointly with your spouse. That covers both of you. So even though you're both filing, that $10 fee covers you both for the counseling. And you don't have to do it right now, but you do have to do it before you file. And the counseling agency will send you a counseling certificate, just a certificate of completion, and you have to give that to the bankruptcy court to let them know that you completed that required counseling at the time of your filing. And here's a list of other counseling agencies as well. And here you put your contact information, your phone number, email address. Click the next button. It'll ask you a couple of questions here. Are you aware that filing for bankruptcy is a serious action with long-term consequences? Yes. Are you aware that bankruptcy fraud is a serious crime? Yes. Did you pay or agree to pay someone who was not an attorney to help you fill out your bankruptcy forms? No, because you're basically filling them out yourself online using our automated system. Then it's going to ask you, it has schedules A through J. So schedule A, or AB, is property. And basically it's just asking you for all of your assets. Do you own any real estate? If so, you just list your house or your information here, and we'll show you how to do that. Or you just leave it blank. Do you have any vehicles, like cars, trucks, motorcycles? If so, you put the year, make, and model, the value, the estimated value, who owns it, debtor 1, debtor 2, or maybe someone else. And if you have another vehicle, you click that, and it'll open up another one. And you can add about 5 of them on here. And here it'll ask you about personal and household items. If you have any household goods and furnishings like furniture, TV, refrigerator, just normal household stuff, you just check this box and it'll open up here. And you just put the information here. It's got examples on this stuff like couch, reclining table, just the big stuff like couch. And you don't put TVs and things like that, electronics. That's the next category. So couch, 2 beds, dresser, dining table, just the big stuff in your house. Just kind of list that there, and you kind of estimate the garage sale value. And it tells you right here, by law, you're supposed to list your value or value your property at what's called the retail replacement value, which is basically how much you would pay like if you went to like a used furniture store and bought your stuff in the similar condition. A lot of people just call it the garage sale value, which is pretty similar. So you just kind of estimate the garage sale value of your stuff. Let's say $800. You just kind of not make it up, but just kind of estimate it the best you can. Then it'll ask you, it's going to ask you also here, electronics, clothing, jewelry, and all these things will open up. And you put like 2 TVs, DVD player, whatever you have, cell phone, $500. Clothing, usually you just put various clothing, $200, or whatever you think your clothes is, the value, the garage sale value. Jewelry, you have to be a little detailed with jewelry. You can't just put various jewelry. You have to be specific. Gold chain, watch, and then you can put like various costume jewelry or something, $400 or something. And then financial assets, you see there's a lot of these in this category, but most of this stuff does not apply to most people. Probably maybe 4, 5, 6 of these things may apply to most people. So if you have a checking account, savings account, maybe a retirement account or 401k or something, security deposit, like with a gas or electric company, when you first turn on service, sometimes they make you put a security deposit that they're holding. All of that is an asset, and you just have to list it. And in, I would say probably 98%, or higher of all Chapter 7 consumer cases, you get to keep all of your property. You're not going to lose anything. You have to list it, but generally you get to keep all of it because it's exempt. It's protected by law. And so it'll ask for all this information. If you have a tax refund that's owed to you that you have not claimed yet, then you would list that as well. Especially if it's like towards the end of the year and you're like ready to file, to get a tax refund. If you've already received your tax refund for the year that you're filing, then you don't need to list it. And that's about it. And then so all these things will open up, and you put like, just the name of the bank, the name of the financial institution, Wells Fargo, and how much money you have in there on the date that you file. And it doesn't have to be exact, but it'll tell you here as of the date that you file. And you can add something. You can always go back. All of your information will be saved here, indefinitely. And you can always go back and add stuff and revise stuff. If you have another checking account, you can just check this. Another one will open up. And they have another one here. You can add any other financial assets. Or actually, there's another one that says any other financial accounts where you can add more than 2 checking accounts or other accounts. So I'm going to delete that there. If you have a savings account, you do the same thing, the name of the bank, and just an estimated balance of how much you have in there on the date that you file. Your 401k, just put the name of the company who was holding and managing your 401k or retirement plan. It could be, $40,000. Retirement funds, qualified retirement funds, like a 401k, those are exempt. Nobody can take those from you. You get to keep those. You can have $1 million or more in there. If you have an electric deposit, like a security deposit with an electric company, you just put that information in here, the name of the electric company, and that's it. It's pretty simple stuff. And the rest of this is usually not applicable to most people. Business-related property, or if you have a farm and commercial fishing-related property, most of that people don't have. So you click the next button. Schedule C will be filled in as well. A lot of that's kind of a semi-automated. Do you have any secured claims? A secured claim is like a car loan or a mortgage, where the creditor has a lien against your house, like a mortgage, or against your car. By contract, when you go and buy a house or you go and buy a car, the contract says that you are voluntarily giving them a lien on your property. So if you miss a payment, they have the right to come and repossess something. So if you have a debt like that, where they have collateral, like a house or a car or something, then you'd list it right here under secured claims. You'd put like Capital One mortgage, $80,000 or whatever your mortgage is, the property value of the property, like a house or a car or whatever, and then their address, and then the collateral. So you put like 2013 Ford Focus or whatever the collateral is. And if you don't have the last 4 digits of the account number or the date it was incurred, you can just put the year or the month and the year. You put like that. And said you could leave the account last 4 digits blank if you don't have it. Who incurred the debt, debtor 1 or debtor 2, or somebody else. If it's like you and your grandmother or something, you'd put at least one debtor and another. And nature of lien, you can have a judgment lien where someone has a judgment against you. They put a lien against your house or something, a judgment lien, or a statutory lien, like if you don't pay your water bill by law, they have a lien by law against your property for that unpaid water bill. Most liens are by agreement. Like when you buy a house, you buy a car, you agreed, to give them a lien, a mortgage, or security interest in your car until you finish paying for it. And this right here, we'll show you how to do this, but generally you leave this blank in most cases. But if you're in a community property state, there's about 14 community property states, which we'll show you later on, like California or Texas. We'll show you, that's the only time you need to fill that out. So, and not always. So we'll show you how to do that once you sign up. Intention regarding property. If you have a house or you have a car that you're paying for, you have the option on a Chapter 7, and it'll tell you all about it. You can surrender that property. You can just give it back, turn it in, and you don't have to do it immediately. You may be able to keep your car for about 2.5 months. You don't have to make the payments. They cannot repossess it because there's an automatic stay, kind of like a restraining order that goes into effect the moment that you file bankruptcy that prohibits them from repossessing your car, even if it's past due. They have to get court permission. That may take them 1.5 months or something to get that permission. Usually they'll just wait until your bankruptcy is over with, so or until the automatic stay comes off. So, at the end of that 2.5 months or 3 months, whatever time, if you want to get rid of your car and turn it back in, you could surrender it, give it back, and the debt itself will be eliminated. It'll be wiped out and forgiven in your bankruptcy. If you want to keep your car, you can also retain. You can retain and reaffirm it, which means you're basically kind of like you're excluding it from the bankruptcy, and you just keep making your payments. Everything will stay the same. Or you can retain and redeem it. If you have a car, you can't do it with real estate, but a car or other types of personal property that's collateral. So let's say your car is worth let's say your car's worth $5,000, but you owe $12,000 on it. Well, with a retain and redeem, you only have to pay what the fair market value of the car is. So you don't pay how much you owe, you pay how much the car is worth, and they have to give you a clear title. So you basically are buying the car for the fair market value. And there's a company called 722redemption.com. They've been around for a long time, and they'll basically pay your car off at that reduced rate, and they'll kind of like be your new car lender. So you'll save a lot of money usually on your car because you're not paying $12,000, you're paying $5,000 or whatever the car is actually worth, and then you're paying sometimes a reduced interest rate, and and they're basically like your new car dealer, your new car lender. And if you have another secured debt, like another mortgage or another car loan, you just click this button here, add another one. It'll open up another one. It'll say name of secured creditor number 1, and then it'll open number 2, and you can add more. And then here, the next section: do any creditors have priority unsecured claims? Unsecured claims, most debts are unsecured, but which like credit cards, medical bills, stuff like that. There's no collateral for that kind of stuff. Like when you go to the doctor, the doctor doesn't say, I need a mortgage on your house to treat your stomach ailment or something. It's unsecured. There's no collateral, like credit cards, all that stuff. So the unsecured debts that have no collateral, those will all be wiped out. You don't have to turn in like your clothes and stuff that you bought with a credit card. They're unsecured. In rare circumstances, like if you go to Sears, their credit card agreement may say that they have a lien against any durable goods that you purchase with a credit card. That'd be like an oven or a stove or something heavy duty. durable, not like underwear and socks, and they don't want that stuff back. So here, this is priority claims are basically, on a consumer case, it's usually past due taxes, state or federal income taxes, or child support, or alimony, something like that, what they call domestic support. So if you don't have any domestic support, or if you don't have any, taxes, whether they're past due or not, actually taxes, then you would, you just put no here. If you do have taxes or child support, you'd list it here. And those are usually not dischargeable on a bankruptcy. You're listing them for informational purposes, but you may not be able to get rid of those if it's child support or taxes. So, but you still have to list them. And if you have taxes, state or federal income taxes that are over 3 years old, and you filed a timely tax return, maybe 3 years ago or something, or 3-4 years ago, or even 7 years ago, you can wipe those out. Those are called non-priority taxes if they're over 3 years old and you filed a tax return for them. Those taxes are non-priority taxes, and you can eliminate them in your bankruptcy. They'll be forgiven. So then you go here, you go to non-priority unsecured claims. Non-priority unsecured means that the debt it's not secured. There's no collateral. It's not a mortgage or car loan. There's no collateral for it. It's like a credit card or a medical bill or a utility bill or any other kind of debt. So it's not secured. There's no collateral, and it's not priority either, which means it's not child support. It's not taxes that are priority taxes. So this is where virtually almost all of your debts will go. If they're unsecured debts, you'd list them right here. And this is on Schedule EF, Part 2. Make sure you list it on Part 2, non-priority. Don't list it on, somewhere else, because you don't want to retype them. So, and it'll tell you all about it right here on the instructions. So here you just type in like Capital One Bank, last 4 digits of the credit card or account number, if you know it. If not, just leave it blank. The total claim amount, this is how much that you owe, the balance that you owe, and you can estimate that if you don't know. It doesn't matter. The debt will be wiped out anyway, so you're required to estimate it. It's good to put the correct amount if you know it, but balances change every day with interest and late fees and things like that. So you just estimate it, and whatever it is, it'll be wiped out. If you don't know the date incurred, like with a credit card, it's usually on your credit report. The date that you open the card usually is what most people put. You put the mailing address of the creditor. The bankruptcy court has to mail the creditor a notice of your bankruptcy, and so the courts don't want you to use all capital letters when you're typing. Don't put all capital like a lot of people do, because it will make the mailing list too long. So you just type like you normally would. Capital One Bank. A normal upper lowercase. And usually most things are, not subject to offset. That's an offset is like, you owe Capital One money, but they owe you money for something, for some reason, and you're claiming a credit or something. So usually it's no. So, who incurred the debt? You, or you, your spouse, or you and somebody else. Usually you leave this blank unless you live in a community property state and you have community debts where, debts that were incurred, during marriage, but then usually it's a community debt means that you and your wife jointly are responsible for it under the community property laws of that state. There's only about 14 states or so that have community property states. Normally, you're not responsible for your spouse's debts, and your spouse is not responsible for your debts, like your credit cards. So, if you have other debts, you just click here, add another one, and you'll go to creditor number 2, and just keep on going. You can add about 60 or 70 of these. Executory contracts and unexpired leases. If you have like a car lease or a house lease, where you've got like a 1-year lease or something, or a car lease 3-4 years or something, then you'd add that. An executory contract is like kind of like a gym. Like if you have a 1 or 2 year contract with a gym, it's kind of like a bilateral obligation where your obligation is still in effect. You have to keep paying them, and they have to keep providing a service or something. They have to keep providing the gym. So executive contract would be like a health and fitness club, or like a cell phone contract where they have to, their obligation is to continue providing cell phone service. And, and you'd list that on here and just put like, AT&T, and just put cell phone contract or something. So otherwise just leave no. Co-debtors, if you have a co-signer or co-debtor, someone who's jointly obligated on an account with you, then you put yes and you put their name and stuff. So otherwise just put no. Schedule I is your income. Are you employed? Yes or no. You put your occupation, mechanic or whatever your occupation is. If you're self-employed, put self-employed mechanic. Your employer's name, which it'll tell you all the information here. Nobody's going to contact your employer and tell them, hey, Bob filed bankruptcy, unless you have a wage garnishment or something. You may let them know about your bankruptcy so they can stop the garnishment. How long you've been employed there, 1 year or whatever. If you're self-employed, you still put employed, and you just put self-employed, whatever. And here it's asking for your monthly gross wages or salary. Gross is how much you make before they take out any taxes or anything, any payroll deductions. So let's say you make $3,000 a month. If you have any overtime pay, and you don't really have to do these calculations, that's just for you, but everything will calculate correctly once it imports into your forms. And by the way, this that you're filling in here, this is not your actual forms. It looks like similar to your forms, but this is just an online questionnaire. All of this data, when you hit the submit button when you're done, all of this data will populate right into your official bankruptcy forms, right into our software in about 30 seconds. And then it'll do all kind of calculations. It'll alphabetize everything, put everything in the proper order, and it'll calculate everything as well. This is your monthly payroll deductions. And make sure don't put just one payroll on here. They're asking for the monthly. So if you have $300 every 2 weeks, or biweekly, then double it up, put $600, put for the whole month. So you put, you're just kind of estimate your payroll deductions, retirement, if you have any retirement that you contribute to, insurance, you just total up all of your insurance and, put it there. Union dues, any other deductions, and it'll ask you, what it's for. And then here it'll ask, list all other income, other than employment income. Now here it's going to ask you for any business income, like self-employment. If you're self-employed, let's say you're an Uber driver and you make $2,000 a month, but you spend $200 a month in gas and gasoline and things like that, then you list your net. They're asking for your net here. So, that's like your net profit each month from your business. So you just kind of estimate that. If you get unemployment, you list it here, Social Security. And Social Security, there's another form where you're not required to list Social Security on another form, but on here you do. You have to list any income on this form, Schedule I. And then it'll calculate all your income, and just keep going to the next page. Schedule J, this is your monthly expenses. It'll ask you, do you have any dependents? Yes or no. And you don't put the name of your kids or the names, you just put son, their age. Do they live with you? Yes or no. And you just put that for your dependents. And here it'll ask you for your monthly expenses. You just estimate your rent or mortgage payment, home maintenance. If you have a house or something, $100 a month in maintenance and repair. And these are all just estimates. Your utilities, how much you spend for gas each month, water, sewer, food and housekeeping supplies. Just kind of go through here. Personal cares like, razors and getting your hair done and stuff like that, your nails, so you just kind of estimate this stuff. Clothing and laundry, that's like buying clothes and also washing your clothes and things like that. Medical expenses medical and dental, that's out-of-pocket cost. It's not covered by insurance. Like if you go to the doctor, you have a co-payment, or you buy medicines, whatever, maybe it's $75 a month. Just kind of estimate how much you spend in a year for you and your dependents, your family, and then divide it by 12. This is all monthly. So transportation would be like gasoline, maintenance for your car, tire changes, oil changes, repairs. Just kind of estimate how much you spend in a year, divide it by 12. It could be like $350 for one car, depending on how much you spend. Insurance would be like life insurance. And it says do not include insurance deducted from your pay or previously included above. So if these insurance amounts were already a payroll deduction, then you don't count them again. And then here, if you have a car payment, you list your car payment here. If you have another car payment, you list it here. And this is like for another property. Like if you have another real estate or some kind of property that you own, then you'd list it here. And this form here is Statement of Financial Affairs. It's basically 27 questions. Most of them are not applicable to most people, so maybe 5 or 6 of these might be applicable. What's your marital status, married or not married? Have you lived anywhere else within the last 3 years other than where you currently live? If yes, then you'd check yes. And here, a lot of people get this wrong. It says, did you have any income from employment or from operating a business during this year or the 2 previous calendar years? So if you work, let's say you work at Walmart and it's July, and you just look on your last pay stub and find out how much your year to date, how much have you made so far this year. And that's what you put, your year to date gross income. And if you also have a side job, let's say you're an Uber driver or you sell Avon, then you would include your gross business income. On the other form, it asks for your net. Now here it's asking for your gross, and the trustee understands it's your gross. It's not all profit. So you would include in this number, combine your salary or wages as an employee, and if you have business income like Uber driver or something like that, then you include the total here. And the same thing for 2019 and 2018. So now we're going to be into 2021. So this is going to change. So this is going to be, changing to 2021. This will be 2020, 2019 in just a few days. Within 1 year before you filed bankruptcy, did you make payments or transfer any property out of account of a debt? Okay. So a lot of these things just aren't applicable. Most of these questions are not applicable. It'll ask you, have you had a lawsuit? Have you been a party to a lawsuit within the last 12 months? And all this stuff, we'll send you, sample completed forms and, detailed video, once you sign up for the bankruptcy. So most of these will just be you just putting no, no, no all through it, through most of it. And this is one of the last forms here, Chapter 7, Statement of Your Current Monthly Income. And it's asking you right here in the instructions, first you put, not married or married. So if you're not married, it's asking for your 6-month average gross income over the last 6 months. So, and you don't include any income for the month that you're filing bankruptcy in. So if you're filing bankruptcy let's say you're filing bankruptcy in December, then you would take the last full 6 months gross income, before any payroll deductions, your gross, total up all your gross income for the last full 6 months, the last full 6 months ending in November. Let's say you made $15,000, you just divide it by 6, 6 months to get the monthly average. So maybe you made 3,200 or whatever. That's from wages. That's not from business. Business is going to be down here. So that's if you're an employee. If you have business income, then you would list your net here. It's asking for net here. Your net business income. So let's say you made $30,000 a month selling donuts from a donut shop. So sole proprietorship. It's not incorporated. It's just you doing business at the donut shop or Uber driver. You subtract your expenses, and let's say you make $2,000 a month net take-home pay. That would be your net business income, if any. and then you list your salary up here if you're an employee where they, like you're a regular employee where they take out wages or, take out taxes and stuff. If you have unemployment compensation, you list it here. Even child support you have to list. You do not list Social Security income, and you don't have to list coronavirus, like stuff that you got from the federal government because of the coronavirus, like stimulus money and stuff. You don't have to list, and you do not list any Social Security. If you're married, if your spouse is filing with you, then your spouse has to fill up this column with her, his or her income. Let's say that you're married but you're separated. If you're married but you're separated, click this box, then you do not have to list your spouse's income. If you're married but you're separated, and you don't have to be legally separated if you're living separate and apart, not just for the bankruptcy, but because you don't like each other or whatever. So you don't list your spouse's income because you probably don't know your spouse's income anyway. Then you list the state that you live in, let's say California, and it'll automatically insert, the median income for your state, and the number of people in your household. Let's say you live in a church commune with 8,000 people. You don't put 8,000 people. You just put you and your spouse and your dependents. So, and that's it. You click next, and if you chose to pay the filing fee in installments, or if you applied for a waiver, actually, or here we applied for a waiver, then it'll give you an example here. Just tell the court why you're unable to pay the filing fee. Broke my leg, I'm unemployed, whatever. And then you click next, and then you're all done. So if you're done, you can go ahead and submit it. Everything will be saved. Or if you're not ready to submit it, you just click Save Progress. It'll save your data. And you can go back anytime. You can log back in. Remember your username and password. You can always log back in and make changes if you need to. But if you're done, you just click the Submit button, and you're all done. So all this may seem a little complicated, explaining it, but it's really pretty simple stuff. You just fill in the information. Maybe it takes you half an hour, maybe it takes you 45 minutes, whatever, even an hour. You're done, and your bankruptcy is done, and then, for $199. I've been doing bankruptcies for almost 40 years, 39 years, and I've never had a bankruptcy denied, just to let you know. So it's, if you go to an attorney, the attorney is going to use similar software. They're going to have a paralegal, or maybe the receptionist in between answering phone calls will prepare these forms using similar software, but they'll charge you about $1,200 or $1,500 or $2,000 or more for the same thing that you can do yourself with this software. And when you're done, you will receive all of your forms filled in on the official forms. This is what it'll look like. They will be emailed to you, all ready to go. They'll be all filled in. Here's all your information. And you just take those or mail those to your bankruptcy court, and we'll provide all that information, the name, address, phone number, all that to your local bankruptcy court. Everything will be, filled in and ready to go. And if you need to, you can always, here's your at the end of it, just to let you know, here is your application to pay the filing fee in installments, or the application to waive the filing fee if you chose that. It'll have a proposed order attached for the judge or clerk to sign. And it'll also create an alphabetical mailing list called a creditor matrix that has all of your creditors' names and addresses on it in the order that your local court requires. So everything is ready to go, and you just basically send this to your local bankruptcy court, or take it in if they're open. Because of the coronavirus, a lot of courts are not letting people come in personally to file. You have to either mail it in. Some of them are allowing you to email your forms in because they don't want you to come in and give them the virus. So you can always check with your local court's website, or contact us, and we'll let you know. Because there's about 94 different bankruptcy court districts that have separate rules, and a lot of them have these emergency rules due to the coronavirus. So we'll let you know, or you can look on the court's website, or just give them a call to your local court's clerk's office. They all have websites, they all have phone numbers, and you can call them and ask them if you can email them in, or if you have to mail them in or take them in person. And once your court receives that, they'll file your bankruptcy, usually the same day. Your bankruptcy will be effective immediately. The moment that you file, an automatic stay will go into effect, which is kind of like a restraining order that immediately stops foreclosures, repossessions of your car, wage garnishments, bank garnishments. Everything stops. Creditors can no longer contact you. They can't call you. If you have a court hearing, that'll be canceled. Depositions, virtually everything stops the moment that you file. And the bankruptcy court will mail out an official notice of your bankruptcy to all of your creditors, letting them know that you filed bankruptcy, and also letting them know that they could be held in contempt of court if they violate this, automatic stay by contacting you or trying to, collect a debt from you. And about a month later, you have to either attend in person a meeting. It's called a meeting of creditors, but on a consumer case, virtually nobody ever shows up. I haven't heard of any creditors showing up on a consumer case at a meeting of creditors in probably 10 years. Because of the coronavirus, most of the meetings are being done over the phone or by Zoom, online, or over the phone. And that meeting is with a bankruptcy trustee who's basically just a private attorney, usually a private bankruptcy attorney who signs up to be a trustee. They get paid a statutory fee from the court of $60 for being trustee normally. And your meeting typically lasts about 3 minutes, something like that. And the trustee will usually just ask you, is everything in your forms true and correct? Did you read your forms before you sign them? Stuff like that. And you have to show your photo ID. And then you leave, and you'll receive your final discharge order in the mail that says all your debts are forgiven, except for the ones that you're voluntarily reaffirming and keeping, like your car loan or your house, if you want to keep your house or your car. So everything else will be wiped out. And that is it. The end.